The elephant's trunk. Oh, the elephant's trunk puts into a basket a range of demands by the Indian National Congress that are designed to assure more autonomy for India in governing itself. The source conveys the exploitation of India by Britain, and it is taxation without representation if you would like to have a reference for that.
And so this is about the British moving into India. And so in the early 19th century, the British East India Company moved into India, and high ranking officials in the East India Company set up a government. And these officials were able to set up their own families in India, and their kids actually grew up in India. And so, therefore, the second generation British Indians, so the high ranking officials' kids were also able to work in the government. And these families were able to stay in control of the government until the crown took rule back over in the late 1800s, because the East India Company got so powerful and the crown got scared. And this gave the East India Company officials and their families an economic advantage over their lives in Britain.
The pre migration life of many British people was poverty. They were poor, they were desperate, and the cities, due to the Industrial Revolution, were very crowded and just overall disgusting. Others who came had better off backgrounds. They just wanted more opportunity. Transportation was by ship. They migrated to India for, once again, opportunity. Their post migration life was most likely improved. They had jobs, they had necessities, and they were higher in the social hierarchy. The familial situation sent money back to the family in Britain. Reason for migration, once again, poverty, jobs, new opportunities. Factors that coerced them to move: poverty, it was crowded, there was not enough opportunity in Britain. And the receiving society reactions, they were most likely not welcomed by the natives due to the natives already being taken advantage of, although that didn't stop them from migrating. And here are uh, three primary sources indicating uh, some of the jobs the British took up. For example, by being like planters, well instructed planters that helped out the Indians with cotton cultivation. The To all capitalists who wish for a profitable investment of their capital, so entrepreneurs came, merchants came, engineers came, especially when the railroad was being built in India. They served as supervisors in a way.
And so here we talk about the Indians moving out of India. And in the 1800s, Indians moved to South Africa solely because of indentured servitude. And indentured servants were selected regardless of how they worked in India. So priests came, while also people who worked in factories came. And so, or people who even worked on farms in India came. And so this led to employers in South Africa being upset with the work done by the Indians. And the Indians came to Durban, which was the hub in South Africa, by boat. And the Indians in South Africa worked with brutal conditions on the sugarcane plantations. And the death rate in the Caribbean sugarcane plantations was 17%. So it's fair to say that they were similar in India, maybe for the Indians, and maybe even greater. And the Indians were still treated with racism because Britain also ruled in South Africa, and it was mostly men who were coming, and they would buy their freedom and return to their families in India. But women also came mainly as prostitutes, and that Maria will get to later.
Here we have a map that shows the flow of migration from India to several areas. The lines that will be focused on today are the purple lines, as here, indentured labor from South Asia. And the Indians who are indentured servants are moving to other British colonies, such as South Africa. This is due to the fact that since slavery was abolished, the British needed a new labor source and they turned to India, a place that they had under control. They had Indians sign contracts to work on farms in hard conditions. This is pre migration life of many